I'm Antonietta Versace Oliveira. I'm the Director of Career Development with IABC Manitoba. I joined the board back in June, so still kind of fairly fresh. But even in my short time here, I've seen what a great job IABC does of just providing both members and non-members with access to tools and resources and opportunities to connect, which is precisely what we're doing tonight. So we are going to chat tonight a little bit about the value of certification. So, you know, maybe you've been thinking about certification for a long time. Maybe like most of us, 2020 has thrown some curveballs, has caused you to kind of reset and refocus where you're going to kind of direct your energy, and maybe you're thinking about, you know, professional development for the first time. But ultimately, wherever you're at in your career path, certification can provide real value. And I mean, especially in sort of ever-changing, you know, this ever-changing kind of global market. So, so speaking firsthand to that, we are very pleased to have with us Bart Goemans, who is joining us from Calgary. Bart is the Manager of Marketing and Communications with Rocky Mountain County in Calgary. He's the Principal Consultant with Bart Communications and Public Relations. He also serves on IABC's Canada Western Region Board as the Director of Professional Development and Sponsorship. So you wear quite a few hats, Bart. In addition, I mean, in addition to the more than 20 years experience that Bart has, he has both his CMP and his SCMP certifications. So, so those certifications are really the only professional certifications that have achieved the global standard by the ISO. So really, as a communicator, those are the only certifications that are recognized on an international scale, which I feel really sets it apart from any other type of certification. So Bart is going to speak for about 30 minutes or so. We'll have some time at the end for questions. So as we go through the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. I'll be watching them. We will address them at the end of the presentation. And of course, if you're more comfortable just asking any kind of real-time questions at the end, that's all good too. Just want to let you know we are recording the webinar, so we will make it available on our website after the event. If you're not too camera shy, and I know we're all kind of experiencing kind of Zoom fatigue, etc., but if you're not too camera shy and you're open to having your video feature on, that's great. We may sneak in a couple little screenshots, little photo ops throughout the next hour. It's always nice to have kind of some smiling faces. And then just a heads up as well that after the event, we are going to send out, we'll be sending out to all of you just a very short survey, just to kind of gauge what type of supports you'd be looking for from IABC to sort of help you through the certification process. So just to kind of give us some insight into that as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Bart.
Thank you. I'll just get my slide presentation up here. Okay, can everyone see that okay? Thank you for the warm welcome, and welcome everyone to the world of certification. So my background with the certification world is about 4 years old. That's how long certification has been around. So really, I was in a couple of cohorts of the original guinea pigs testing it out. I had also been going through the accreditation process. So there's still a lot of ABCs out there, a very well recognized program, also very prestigious, but unfortunately no longer available. So when I was going through the ABC process, IABC introduced a global certification program in the middle of it. So I kind of put pause on what I was doing and decided to try the CMP process and the SCMP process. So the slide deck I'm going to take you through is really to demystify the process a bit. I think there's a number of myths around certification. There's a bit of confluence in terms of what ABC's experience, what certification process is like, and I want to try and take it down to the basics and really bring it down to the nuts and bolts in terms of how the process works, what happens once you have your certification and you're maintaining it, and what certification really means to employers and your fellow communicators. So as Antonietta mentioned, it is a global certification recognition that you're looking at receiving. It's internationally recognized. So across all borders, it conveys a certain level of excellence and understanding of key principles and job competencies. So no matter where you are in the world, if you hold the CMP or the SCMP designation, you hold a value in that world. There are two types, CMP and SCMP. I have written both. You do not have to do them concurrently, and I will take you through what each level requires and help you to decide what level works best for you. Just as a little bit of a background, I talked to Sarah Foudy at International just about a week ago because I wanted to know how the global numbers were stacking up, how we were still looking with ABCs that are also in the marketplace. So I'm pleased to report that since this is a Canadian audience, Canadians are leaders in the program, with hands down. So of the 111 CMPs and 53 SCMPs that are out there, they're all Canadian. 83% are CMP holders are Canadian, and 44% SCMP holders are Canadian. So in particular, the CMP accreditation, or sorry, certification has really taken off in Western Canada, and I hope to see that continue to expand across Canada. And sometimes I'll tease International a little bit that even though the idea was born from there, Canadians have really embraced this and have become global leaders in it. And there's still 646 ABCs out there. So let's not forget that we've, since the 1970s, we've, as International Association of Business Communicators, have been putting some type of accreditation or certification as a pillar or a stake in the work that we do, and setting ourselves apart through some type of certification or accreditation process. So if you're thinking about becoming a CMP, think about your experience. So you need about 6 years of experience and about 40 hours of training per year. So that's, if you go into the application process, this is usually specialist level, coordinator level, maybe have a little bit of management experience as well. If you have been a manager beyond 6 years, then I would also have you take a look at the SCMP application process almost right away as well. So they're suggesting 11 years of experience for SCMP, 20 hours of training, and a letter of recommendation from somebody who can certify that you've held those positions of responsibility, that your resume is indeed factual and correct, and then you'll go through the application process from there. So this is typically for people that are managing communication professionals and have over a decade of experience doing it. If you have a blend and in between, and you're still not certain of whether you would go CMP or SCMP, or you have a unique resume and maybe it's partially communications, partially marketing, you're not sure, my suggestion to you is not overthink it. I would reach out to Sarah at International and just she's very responsive, have a phone conversation with her and just say, I'd like to talk a little bit more about my background. Do you feel that I would be more appropriate as a candidate for SCMP or CMP? The exam. So I wrote the CMP exam here in Calgary with about 60 people in one classroom. That's not being done right now, as you can imagine, but we'll get into that in a bit. And the SCMP, the first exam sitting that I sat in was in Washington in 2017, and there was about 40 of us in that exam. They're adjudicated exactly the same. So I'm a proctor actually for the examination, and was a proctor in Banff for the 11 writers there last year. And the questions are different, format's the same. So you bring your own computer in, they give you a login code. The proctor ensures that you have 3 hours to write both examinations. Both tests are 100% multiple choice questions that are broken down into key categories. Even though it is multiple choice, these are definitely critical thinking questions. They're not memorization questions. These exams are set up to test your experiential knowledge and how you apply that and the application of your thinking, rather than did you memorize number 10 on the IABC Code of Ethics. Both are ISO certified. Both, as I mentioned before, are based on global standards, and the examination is reviewed, I think, annually by the council to make sure it remains current. And that's part of what I like about the ISO standard, is not only is the examination remain current, but the candidates are also expected to remain current once they earn the designation through an annual process where you basically reapply without writing an exam or anything, but reapply for rehold your certification. So unlike ABCs in the past, they earned it through also a rigorous portfolio up front and examinations and testing and interviews, but there was no more recertification, whereas this process annually requires a recertification. So it sounds like a lot of work. It's not as much as you think. Step one, choose the path that's right for you. So I've given you a couple of options there. Think about whether you have that 11 years management or 6 years of experience, and then apply, or talk to Sarah and then apply. Once you are accepted, you have up to 2 years to write the test and take a look through where seatings are available. They've been held pretty widely in Canada because it's been such a popular program. You won't see a lot of testing dates offered in the new year yet. I think a lot of people are waiting to see what's happening with COVID. Canada Western Regional Board is looking either to host or work with chapters to host exams in the new year. So I'd be happy to speak to any chapter about that. We have budget. I would like to get a host seating date in Western Canada within the first quarter. So we'll make sure exams are COVID safe, probably have limited amount of applicants that can write. But remember, just because you've gone through the process and been accepted, you still have 2 years to actually sit down and write the test and book it in the exam. So after you take the exam, you'll be notified of the results. So this is a pass or fail. You don't get a breakdown of your score. You, if you're like the 11 people that wrote in Banff, all 11 received an email saying, congrats, you've all passed and earned your designations. If you take a deeper dive into the Global Communication Certification Council handbook, it is a 75% threshold. So if you passed, you got above 75, and you'll be moving on to your certification. So once you're certified, as I mentioned, you are required to earn professional development points each year. This is not a very onerous process. It's a one-page form basically that you basically declare, almost like a passport. Here's the following countries I've been to, but what your point spread has been for maintenance that year. So for me personally, Speaking today would be 10 points out of 40. Mentoring a student would be 10 points. Writing a peer journal or publishing on IABC websites, for example, are worth points. Serving on a board of directors is worth points. Attending a conference virtually or in person is worth points, depending on how many hours the conference lasts, more points, and up to 20 points. So it's not difficult. In fact, most communicators are quite busy with these activities already. It's just a matter of documenting them, having that information ready, and then when your renewal date comes up, sending in the form with the information for reaccredit or recertification. So the key benefit is that we're defining a common body of knowledge globally, and accountants and other professional business people around the world all have a body that represents them and states that they have a common working interest in strategy, in ethics, in consistency and implementation, in research and analysis. This is what the certification test is basically drawing out. If you've been exposed to all of those things, the test will certify that you have that knowledge. You can see that it's essentially for me testing your level of mastery. Now, the term mastery is, I think, a bit overstated. Yes, we're all masters in what we do, but it's not like a master's degree. This is at a 6-year mark or an 11-year mark, testing that you haven't faked it till you make it. You really have that essential knowledge. So for the CMP, here's the examination breakdown. You're going to be tested on 5 communication domains. What's not mentioned on the slide deck is what the breakdown is, so I'll give it to you. Communication ethics will be 7% of the total exam mark. Communication research and analysis is worth 21% of the entire grade. Communication strategy and engagement, obviously a big portfolio piece of everything that we do, is worth 36%. Consistency and strategic implementation, 16%, and measurement worth 20%. So that's the grade spread. So when you write the exam, it's going to take you mix and match through those worlds. It'll have you a bit on your toes, but you have 3 hours. When you do write the exam, my best advice to you is if you aren't sure about a question, move on. It allows you to go back and re-answer a question. So some questions will take 5-10 minutes for you to think about. Other questions will it'll take you 15 seconds and you move on. For me, when I wrote the CMP, you had 3 hours. I'd say half the class was done in an hour and a half. Some took the full 3 hours. When I wrote this SCMP, I took 2 hours and 59 minutes, and most people did as well. So the SCMP exam is the one that will really take more of your time. The breakdown for SCMP, you can see, is a bit different. You have advising and leading, management, strategy development, innovation, ethics, reputation management. So now you're being tested more along the lines of what 11 years of experience in managing people and key stakeholders would have you face in scenarios. So advising and leading is worth about 23%. Managing and management principles are 20%. Strategy development, 19%. Innovation, 10%. Ethics, 10%. Reputation management, 18%. So that's the mixed spread for that exam. With this one, I found it'll provide you richer information to help you judge and answer. So for example, it'll give you a scenario and say you're advising your president and CEO on a reputational issue. Here's a table of information to support your analysis. Which of the following 4 things would you do would you recommend to your CEO? So you would have to take the time, look at the information, use your critical thinking skills, and then provide the best answer out of the four that are given to what you would counsel a CEO with, for example. So different type of examination for the CMP, which focuses very much on skills, different set of skills. Personally, I think it helps you stay on top of trends and critical developments, not so much the examination process itself and by the fact that you're in a community of a couple of hundred certified people, but it forces you to go through the annual process of ensuring that you are following your 40-point spread and that you're reinvesting in your skill set year after year. So it forces you to engage with your colleagues, read, participate. The certification holders does elevate, I believe, your professional communication and organization. When you were going to an accounting department and you see the accountants with their designations and the CMAs, and it's recognized. And although this program is only 4 years and it's not immediately something that everybody would recognize when you talk to them about it, it is the new global business standard. It will become the recognized way of determining somebody as professionally certified in their business. It will become the gateway for deciding who you hire and who gets promoted in your organization. It's not there yet, but it will be. So think about 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It took the ABCs, well over 40 years of continual accreditation and people going through the process, and it became a very strong, recognized profile. This is no different. It is a cornerstone and a pillar for IABC's work. As they are looking to restructure themselves, this is definitely one of their major offerings in ensuring that that demonstrated professionals are positioned well for the future in comparison to the peers who are not certified. This is some information provided by IBC that basically some stats that they've ran on people that have the designation. Are they higher performers than people that aren't certified? That's debatable, but I would say this is more closely tied to people in general who invest in their career and their skill levels perform better. And I think that's exactly what certification is a gateway to, is actually a professional development track. According to IABC stats, once you hold a designation in an employer that recognizes certification, it raises you above your peers and it does offer you an opportunity for higher earnings in the future. The research, of course, has that benchmarked with people who also have formal education through a post-secondary institution and hold a bachelor's degree. So I think the rest is more certification propaganda, which is important stuff. But really, at the end of the day, I won't say pay raises and peer recognition are the reason to do it. The real reasons you want to do it are it's a sense of personal achievement. You've elevated yourself amongst your peers, and people will seek you out and ask for your advice, which is really, I think, at the heart of what a lot of communicators like to do. They like to share information, share knowledge. It just comes naturally to us, and it's also a very good for managers. It's also a very good way to initiate an investment in professional development track for your people. So if you're having conversation with them about goals, etc., you may consider certification as a starting point there, knowing that it comes with a required development track of its own that you could either support or they could support on their own. Recruiters are starting to look for it. I would say Canada, it's more recognized for sure, because we have a lot of people that have come through the pipeline. So you're now starting to see certification creep into ads. If there's anybody in here who supports communications for human resources recruitment, you may want to talk to your HR colleagues about looking for certification on your job listings and help promote it. It helps attract and retain communications talent. So if you're looking at joining a department and none of the peers are certified, not necessarily a bad thing, but you may want to ask about if they're aware of certification, and if that is something that's important to the organization. It may give you some research as well yourself in terms of how that organization works with communicators. So that really is it in a nutshell. There is a cost, and it's not cheap. It is an investment. When you add membership dues onto it, you have a one-time for members. So become a member, because it saves you $300 US. It's a $100 cost for the application, and then when you're ready, again within that 2-year window, I'm ready to write. Now I'm going to pay the examination fee and do a sitting. It's $400 one-time cost. And then after that, annually, all you do is pay $100 along with the paperwork that certifies your points spread. So at this point, if I haven't dizzied you with all that information, I'm happy to take questions, draw upon my personal experience, and fire away. Thanks for the time.
Thank you so much for that, Bart. That was a nice overview for sure. Touch on some key points here. I know we did have a few questions coming in through our lovely chat. So I'm going to start here. We had our first question here is from Roland. So Roland was asking, with COVID, do you know if the GCCC has extended the 2-year waiting period after one has applied? Are they being a little bit flexible with that, or what's the story there?
I don't believe they have. I haven't seen anything formally that they've done that. They've still been able to host sittings, a fair amount of them this year. I know certainly there's been some in Calgary and Vancouver, and there's some scheduled in Edmonton. So I don't think so, but 2 years is a long window. And they are looking at potential for a virtual exam. So right now it's very, in order to maintain the ISO certification, you need proctors, and you need them to adjudicate that in person, but they are looking at ways of flexibility around that. I don't know if that's something that's pending, but it is something they are certainly looking at.
Okay, yeah, I was on a webinar last week with I think it was Sia Papagiorgio that was presenting internationally on that. And so she was saying that they were getting close to making that happen. And but was really reinforcing that even if it was just, one person that was wanting to sit on the exam, that we would work with that and make it happen. It's not a case of needing a X amount of numbers or whatever. So yeah, the program will evolve. So if you're not in a rush, you could wait and see. But I would say 2021 would be primarily, I would be prepared to go to a seated exam someplace rather than expecting a virtual delivery. Okay, thanks for that. The next question I have here is from Shruti. So she's asking, is there a timeline for that experience of 6 years? i.e., does it need to be done within the last X amount of years?
No, my understanding is it's cumulative, so it doesn't have to be concurrent. As long as you have, and it's one of the things you can reach out to Sarah about, as long as you have demonstrated 6 years of experience, you should be able to write that exam.
Okay. Does that answer that question, Shruti? Does that answer that for you?
Yes, that definitely helps. And at the end, like if we're in the process of application, if we've come across any such questions, it'll be really great if we are provided a contact person, like just any XYZ questions while filling in the application. Yeah.
So the email that's on the screen right now, info@gccouncil.org, that goes to Sarah directly. She'll be the one to respond to you. And like I said, she's very quick. She's very responsive. Her role is to get as many people certified as global business communicators around the world. So she's there for you as a resource. She was great when I went through the original program. The best advice I can give you is not to overthink too much about the small stuff. There's a level of flexibility that's built into this program. They're not intended to be rigid barriers. They want people to get certification. If you have bona fide experience, and it was 10 months at this company, 11 months at that company, 2 years working for yourself, whatever it might be, there's no stringent rules that start to come up as obstacles for your process.
Thank you so much, Bart. That really answers it. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then I see part two, Shruti, you added part two to your question here was, so does the experience need to be specific to the field of marketing and communications? Is volunteer experience considered as well? Yes,
definitely volunteer experience, as long as you can have somebody vouch for your experience, and you're able to back that up with documentation. You'll find the heaviest amount of work for this whole thing is actually in prepping for the application. And I spent about 2-3 hours prepping the application, and it went through okay. It takes time to sort of pull together backup information, and if you have degrees and diplomas, etc., pulling photocopies of that stuff together, getting a note from either your boss or a peer or a mentor who can write on your behalf. So it takes time to gather that. But when Sarah reviews the application, it really is following the general guidelines. If there's a certain area she'll have questions about, she'll ask you about it in the application. It's not like a rejection stamp comes back. It's a dialogue.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And one thing I should mention as well, on that website that's on the page right now, gcccouncil.org, there is a list of study resources. Again, I'll go back to my original message that this is not something you can study for and be successful. You have to have the experience to apply to write the exam to be successful. The studying is really helping you to become more familiar with the examination breakdown. There's a sample exam up there that'll give you sample questions, so it'll help you understand the format. You should be familiar with IABC Code of Ethics and give that a read, and you should also read through their handbook. But the rest is going to be again drawing upon your critical theory experience and your thinking.
Great, thanks a lot. Just I just wanted to clarify, Bart. Like if there's a part of experience that's not relevant to communications, should we be mentioning that, or there's no point just mentioning that experience?
It depends on which one you're applying for. So I wouldn't discount anything on your resume. In fact, put your resume in with your application and let them decide what's relevant and not relevant. If you have an established career outside of communications, you made a transition into communications from another field, I wouldn't write off your other experience and become purist about it. There may be, like in the SCMP world, management experience is huge. Finance experience is important. So provide a well-rounded overview of your career track is the best advice I would give.
Thanks so much.
Okay, that's good. That's good advice. I have another question here. It was from Sharon. So she's asking, can you outline how you studied for the CMP exam? So for example, were there sections of the IABC handbook that you placed more emphasis on?
So CMP, the handbook didn't even exist when I first wrote it, or at least if it did, I didn't even know about it. It was a brand new program. So I just literally dove in, signed up, got a sense of what the examination categories were going to be. I took a look, I re-reviewed the code of ethics, and then I literally went in almost cold and wrote it. And again, those numbers aren't arbitrary. So 6 years and 11 years are kind of chosen for a reason. 6 years, you become pretty comfortable in your skin in terms of that level of work. And the questions aren't there to trick you. They aren't there to, there's no magic behind them. If you have good experience and you take a moment to think about what they're asking, you'll do just fine. So I wouldn't worry about. Always prepare, but again, it's not a traditional didactic type of memorization exam. It is drawing upon bona fide experience.
Mm-hmm. Your dog is agreeing with you on that.
Yeah, Ducky the Wonder Dog agrees. At least get two barks up.
Okay, there's another question here from Michaela. So she's asking here, can you repeat how long a student has to complete the exam after they complete the 40 credit hours?
Yeah, they have up to 2 years after successful application to write.
Okay. You might have answered this already, but Jackie's asking, are there practice tests as resources online?
Yeah, so great question. Go to that GCC page that's on the screen and look under resources, and there is a practice examination there. I would say that's probably one of the best tools to help you really get a sense of whether you're ready or not. If you do that little practice exam and you go, oh my God, then you may want to wait. But I would be amazed and surprised if anybody on this call today would have that response to it. I think most would go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, makes sense, yeah, straightforward.
Okay, and then just to confirm, Jackie's saying the exam is multiple choice format.
You bet. 100 questions and 4 answers per question.
Okay, all right. So Marjorie's just noting here in the chat, IABC Manitoba is committed to having an exam in 2021. So that's our goal, just to sort of reiterate that. So those are all the questions I'm seeing right now in the chat. Did anyone else have any questions they wanted to ask in real time right now? Anything that's kind of cropping into your head or you're sort of mulling it about? Anything at all?
I have one, Antoinette, I can ask. I have enough experience to apply for the SCMP, but did I read that the CMP has been internationally recognized maybe in a way that SCMP hasn't quite yet? I'm trying to decide which one's the best fit for me.
I would say they're both equally recognized. CMP has only been out 1 year longer than SCMP, and you do not have to do them concurrently. So it is not a gateway examination. So CMP doesn't have to be your first foray. You're ready for SCMP, and you remember there's an investment that comes with this. Those fees are not small. So for you to have to even there's a slight discount for people that are going from CMP to SCMP, but it's not huge. So I would consider the investment for the time and probably go straight for SCMP. The thing you might have heard is that the SCMP designation in Canada is held by 2 associations, the International Association of Business Communicators and the Supply Chain Management Professionals. So there was confusion, I think, in Canada 4 years ago about the right to hold that, but that's all gone away and cleared up. But no, I don't think there's any less recognition for SCMP.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there's another question here from Crystal. So she's just asking, can you restate the credit hours required and the time frame to acquire these hours before applying to write the exam?
So the training hours that you need are really some levels of formal education. So I would take a look at the actual handbook for that piece and see how it matches your personal training background.
And then Tashi's asking here, does one have to do both exams?
No, they're not concurrent. You can pick which one works best for you and your situation.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other burning questions that are coming to mind?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, Bart, I mean, you have already covered this. What would you say? Would you say people management is critical to the SCMP designation, or could someone that maybe has a different type of maybe non-formal people management experience apply for that one as well?
I would say management of people is not critical. Management of projects, processes that have scale with stakeholders is equally, if not more important.
Thank you.
Okay. Great question, Carrie. Anything else that's coming to mind that anyone wants to kind of take advantage of Bart while his ears are open?
Yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer questions if I can help as well. I've had a lot of one-to-one Zoom coffees with people who just want to tell me a little bit about what they feel, but and I'm happy to do that as well. Sarah in San Francisco is also a great resource. If there are CMPs and SCMPs in your community, you can also reach out to them. But it's a growing network, over 200 strong, with a lot of those being Canadians. So I would seriously consider it. COVID's a good time to do this. If you have extra time for professional development, take the time, put the application kit together and send it in. You don't have to pay that $400 examination fee until you're ready to sit down and do the exam. You have up to 2 years to do that, but at least you get the paperwork and the assembly of information together and out of the way early. So hope to see a lot of you writing the exam in 2021.
Yeah. The other interesting thing I was going to mention on that webinar that I was listening to with Sia in Australia, she was mentioning that they're currently in the process of putting together like a business case template for people to provide to their employers to sort of essentially make the case for funding of pursuing the certification. So that's another resource that they're building right now that I think might even be just one more tool that anyone that's kind of toying with it might just kind of add to their ammo around everything. So so she's gonna sort of keep us posted on that. Sorry, and just a few more questions coming up here as well. I see one from Shruti here. She's just asking, what's a good way to prepare for this exam? What really helped you in your preparation?
Probably re-reviewing my portfolio of work that I've done over the years, taking a look at my my resume and reflecting on that. The code of ethics, the handbook, but nothing more than that, nothing more mystical than that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so if there's no other questions, I really want to extend a big, great thanks to you, Bart, for just taking the time to chat with us tonight and sharing this insight and this valuable information. I found it very helpful. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just kind of here to more or less set each other up for success. So however we can share the resources and the information, that's basically what we're here to do. So, just kind of further to what Bart said, as far as reaching out, I mean, at any time, if you're interested in knowing more, getting more information, getting hooked up with anybody, you can reach out to us here at IABC. I think that email address might be on our last slide tonight, but it's iabc.manitoba@gmail.com. So, beyond tonight, if anything, anything sort of twigs in your mind, you're more than welcome to reach out as well that way. So before I go, I'm just going to hand it over to Marjorie Huselak. So she's our past president here of IBC. And I am going to hand it over to her to just do a little bit of wrap up. Over to you, Marjorie. You're just muted, Marjorie. There we go.
So before I start, I just want to thank Antonietta for a fabulous job in coordinating this event. And Bart, once again, it was great to have you here. It's an example of how wonderful IBC is about being able to reach across many, many miles and working to support each other. Just to let you know, we are going to have a survey that we're sending out to all of you. The survey is more to help us determine what you need so that we can continue on with developing our certification program for Manitoba. Danica, I'm having a hard time moving the slide. I don't know. There we go. I also want to just promote a few of our events that we have coming up. The first one is on next week. It's an incredible event. We are actually partnering with IBC British Columbia, Calgary, Edmonton, and I think Saskatchewan. And the idea is for us to bring in a world expert on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a highly discounted event because IBC Manitoba wants to show support towards these goals. And it'll be occurring on December 3rd, and it's on Eventbrite right now. We are also going to be starting in January a new way for you to connect together. Our incoming president is going to be starting coffee conversations every first Friday of the month, and the first one will begin on January the 8th. We thought we'll leave January 1st alone, but we'll start on January 8th. That's one of our two events. And we also want to mention a few other ways that you can connect with us with IBC. One thing that we mentioned right now is I know a few of you are not members right now, but right now IABC International, which is the largest portion of your membership is actually offering a 25% discount till the end of December for your membership. So this will bring your membership up to less than $300. So you may want to take a look at that. That's on the IBC website. So please join us. I also want to say there's other ways you can join us as well. And that includes volunteering with us. One of the things that you can do with your certification, if you're going to go through that path, is actually volunteer hours with us is one way that you can join. I'm a little bit humble, but I gotta say we're a fun crew to be with and a great place to learn. So I just want to hope that we're doing well that way. And last but not least, I want to also mention just other ways that you can connect with us. So we are on all the social platforms. Antonietta also mentioned our website, which is ibc.manitoba@gmail.com. And with that, there's just a few things I wanted to mention to people. And Antonietta, I'll let you wrap up for everybody. So last slide. Well, Antonietta, I think you're on mute.
There we go. Thanks, Marjorie. No, thanks again for joining us. Just a big thanks to all of you for taking the time tonight and just listening in. And like I say, it's as Bart alluded to, perhaps it's just an opportune time to sort of reset our focus and maybe look into investing some time and energy into some professional development that we might not have otherwise thought about. So I think this information was super helpful. And thanks so much again to Bart for graciously sharing his insight and his tips with us. And again, our main role is to be here to support you. So at any point, reach out, and we're sort of all here to just kind of build each other up and set each other up for success. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have a survey that'll come out sort of post-event. So yeah, take a couple minutes. It really truly is a short, I think it's about a 4-question survey. So we're just kind of helping to equip us with the best way to figure out how we can support you through this process. So thank you so much again for everyone coming out. And hopefully we'll see you at some of these future events, and we'll take care in the days to come. And thanks again to Bart.
Thank you, everyone. Go Manitoba!
Thank you.